49ers Ultimate Report. This is John J., your 49ers reporter, opinionist, analyst, and die-hard fan. It is Thursday. It is another Thursday, and that means that we have a great show. You know who's going to be on the show today. No introductions needed. Let's just bring on in Shifty 49ers Talk. How are you doing on this wonderful, wonderful Thursday?
Man, I am good. Stoked to talk some 49er football. Thursday, it's become a great day that I look forward to now. Talking it up, the Candlestick Point report, big game Monday night, and there's a lot to talk about, a lot to get into.
Yeah. And I want to apologize to my viewers. I was late. The host was late. Shifty was on time waiting for me. And Shifty was telling me, come on, Josh, yeah, you're late. I'm joking. I'm just messing with you, Shifty. Yeah, so sometimes life gets in the way, Shifty. You know that. You've told me before. Sometimes you have to work. You don't know when you get home. Life gets in the way. But we started the show a little bit later than usual, but we are now here to talk some football. And just like we all know, today is a special day because it is the start of week 4, and the Miami Dolphins, I think, are playing the Cincinnati Bengals. And just like we always start the show, we want to talk a little NFL quickly uh, about this game. And so, are you gonna be able to watch the Thursday night football game? And are you excited for today's game?
Yeah, I should be able to watch it, and I'm really looking forward to this one. I mean, Miami Dolphins are arguably the one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL right now. Cincinnati did a rough go of it the first 2 weeks, but last week they got back on track. Cincinnati have a ton of talented players, so this should be a good game. Should be a good game. You never know how it actually plays out because last week I think it was Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and that game was not so good. But yeah, I think this should be a fun game. Just be excited to see some of those familiar faces with Raheem Mostert and Mike McDaniel and all those guys. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and that's actually funny how you said the game was not fun. And I saw a little bit of the game. I didn't watch the whole game, and the Steelers did not look good, and the Browns look good. So it's going to be weird who's going to win that division. But when it comes to the Dolphins and the Bengals, I think the Dolphins have an edge. I think they can win the game because the Bengals, that offensive line is so atrocious. Like since Joe Burrow has been there, that's why he suffered after 10 games, I think, in a serious knee injury. I don't know if he really injured his ACL, but he suffered a severe knee injury where he was out for the rest of the year. That offensive line has been horrible. Last year, we saw it in the playoffs. Joe Burrow was being just knocked around, and even this year, and Zach Taylor, who's been there uh, for quite some time now, has had time to uh, develop a develop a offensive line, and he has never done it. So I worry about that offensive line. And Miami, a lot of people don't know this. Their defense is pretty good. Like as long as the Tua is developed by our former offensive coordinator, I think the Dolphins are going to be a team to watch for this season. So that's my thoughts about the game. Let's get all these comments out the way. My boy Damian Lee is in the building. He says, "Let's go red and gold." Yes, true, true, true. Shout out to Damian Lee. All right, Daniel Barry, official Rams 2022 champions. He says sup, and he says go Rams. I know this week he's going to be talking trash because he wants the Rams to beat us. So I hope the Niners win again. I'm tired of losing. Losing to the Rams is just like worse. It will be hard for me to stomach. The New York Giants fan is in the building. What's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. He says, "What's up to Shifty?" And Daniel says, "Dolphins, Bengals." Yep. Sup? Everyone is saying hello in the chat. I'll be live in 4 hours. All right, cool, cool, cool. Everyone is saying hello. And of course, my boy David is in the building. It's Niners all damn day. And he wants to say F the Lambs. And then the Rams fan says, Whiners SF. Oh, man. It's so funny that they don't find any great, clever names. It's just all the whiners. Because I thought,
The 40 whiners.
I thought they would have better, clever names, for us. Unfortunately, it looks like they don't have good, clever names. So if the whiners are like the best way to trash talk us, no disrespect, but come on. All right, everyone's saying what's up in the chat. All right, David says McDaniels was a keeper. Shanahan has an ego the size of the Goodyear blimp. All right. We have Leroy. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Leroy says, we own the Lambs. No problems. Get the winning streak back starting. Shout out to Leroy for tuning in. And I like the little logo. It says the faithful fan. All right. LOL. And YTC says the 69ers. Okay, that's a little bit corny, no disrespect. Again, but is what it is. All right. Oh, yeah. And that is true. There are a lot of 49er fans in LA, which is a 49ers territory. So I wanted to take that. And just for people to poke, poke fun at us, I'm going to teach something. So our mascot is a gold miner. And it's kind of funny how no one says, the 49ers should be known as the gold diggers, which has a bunch of meanings to it. But that would be kind of funny. But again, the 49er fans have to insult themselves because, people don't know how to insult us. But anyway, let's get the fun talk out the way. All right, let's talk about Sunday's game. 4 days have passed since the game. I know you have a lot to say, but after rewatching the game, probably looking at the thing, back. All right. I'm still laughing from all the funny stuff we were goofing around with, but let's get serious for a moment. So I know you rewatched the game. I've rewatched the game. I've saw the film studies, all that. So after looking at the game, and this loss, it was a tough loss. I want to get your thoughts on the game and, talk about, Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan, anything about the 49ers. Feel free to just let me know. And then also, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, that game was really, really frustrating to watch. Now, to start off with a positive is like the defense was really, really good. I thought all game long they were getting, decent pressure, the coverage down the field. Charvarius Ward, Mooney Ward, he is awesome. I think he's incredibly underrated. To me, he's probably one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. He had a great game, a couple of really nice pass breakups. Defense was phenomenal. I mean, we gave up 9 points to a Russell Wilson offense that has good running backs, some good receivers too. So phenomenal performance by them. Outside of that, it was all bad. The offense was atrocious outside of one drive where we got the touchdown. Jimmy had a number of opportunities, number of plays to make, and we just couldn't make them. And, you could call it rust, you could call it whatever. At the end of the day, Jimmy Garoppolo is a guy who's been in the league. He's been with this team and this system for years. So, at some point, I mean, there has to be accountability there. I thought Shanahan definitely, had some bad moments himself. A couple of times where we could have been aggressive, where it was like 4th and 3 from the Denver 45, things like that, which he elected to punt. I mean, you could argue that maybe it's maybe it's him putting faith in the defense, but I think you have to be aggressive sometimes. That play call that led to the ridiculous safety, I hate that play call on the goal line. It's a play call that we run a number of times. I know we ran it in week 1, which almost led to the big Tyler Kroft play from Trey Lance. But, it's just one of those things where I think everyone offensively, everyone just had a bit of an off night. Jalen Moore, good grief, he was bad. He was really bad. He only played 4 snaps, and then he was taken out for Colton McKivitz. To me, Colton McKivitz should have been, as soon as Trent Williams was hurt, I thought Colton McKivitz should have been out there. After 4 plays, they pulled Jalen Moore because he was just getting beat every single play. I don't know if we'll see him again, Jalen Moore, unless we absolutely have to put him in there. But the offense, just, the running plays Jeff Wilson had a couple of nice runs, but beyond that, really rough to watch. Offense was super sloppy. It seems like the league has figured out this whole, running the ball with Debo. Yeah, they really have to. I'd like to think that the offense this whole week has taken a long look at themselves, and they really have to start questioning. I mean, we have a lot of guys here, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, who I think, and rightfully so, consider themselves elite players in the NFL. Got to start putting up these numbers now. We're into week 4. This isn't like week 1 or week 2 where you're kind of getting into the rhythm. It's like we're in week 4 now. So I'd like to think we can get back into a rhythm, get back on track, and we got to start producing offensively.
Yeah, and one thing about this game is that I saw what's his name, JT O'Sullivan. For those who know, he was our quarterback. That was fun. All right, but and there was the play where Jimmy Garoppolo was sacked in the final drive. Trying to go down the field. And first of all, one thing that I saw that most people are not looking is that Debo basically ran a quick, and it stopped, and the corner was 5 yards away from him, and Jimmy Garoppolo, because of the pocket was breaking down, he was unable to see Debo. But if he was able to see Debo, he would have flinged it out there, but Debo would not have gotten a lot of yards for those who did not see that. And one of the things I love about film study, that I'm a big, what's the word I'm looking for? A big, a nerd. I think I'll use that word. So a nerd, you get to see everything, and everyone was covered. They were basically playing one-on-one matchups. Everyone was a tight coverage, and basically Colton McKivitz or Jalen Moore, oh my gosh, they're not ready. They're not Trent Williams ready. Went through there, Jimmy got sacked, and of course, I'm not giving Jimmy any type of credit. I'm just saying with that one play where he got sacked when we had to go down the field, and Niners had 2 opportunities to go down the field, and we basically screwed that up ourselves. We can blame everyone, but it's a team game. It's a team game. But if Jimmy Garoppolo had Trent Williams there, he would have looked at that direction, flinged it out there quickly to Debo, but Debo probably would not have got a lot of yards, but it would have been probably a few yards depending on what happens. So when you look at that play and you see what's going on, that's why when most people just see the highlights, they don't see what's going down the field. When you see everything down the field, what the quarterback is looking at, you see how the offensive line is working. There's a lot of mechanical things that were not working, and Kyle has to fix that. Kyle has to realize my best offensive line player is out. Who do I have to replace him? And so you see Kyle just like, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself. But when you have your quarterback at Jimmy Garoppolo, that offensive line, it bothers me. It bothers me a lot why Kyle says, you know what? Let's put the product out there and we'll see what happens. And I think that's what Kyle, what he thinks is, I don't care what the media says. I don't care what the fans say. I think this team is good. And yes, I know my quarterback is limited. I know my offensive line is not as good like it was a few years ago. But for whatever the reason, that's the thing that after watching that stuff, watching those plays, and of course, Jimmy had 2 opportunities to go down the field. I am still angry why Jimmy never takes shots. And when he did take one shot, Debo had to turn around and catch the football. When you watch the stuff, and after a game, fans are emotionally invested. They're angry. But that's why a day later, you get to review and watch the stuff and see all the aspects. Jimmy was 50% of the problems in the offense. 50% of the offense was also the offensive line. So if that's your quarterback, that's your offensive line, expects that the Rams could have a field day with us. So that's my thoughts about that. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Let me find the last comment. All right. This is YTC making fun of us because when we were goofing around, he said, yeah, you're right. The most of your fan base, state of Missouri. That's funny. My boy Carcast, actually our boy Carcast, the legend, is in the building. What are your thoughts about the great Carcast? I want to get your thoughts. That's a good one.
I like Cardcast a lot. I was on his show before. We did like a breakdown of the season, like kind of game by game. Yeah, I think he's got bright future ahead. Just got to keep doing his thing, putting out that content, and just just kind of get the passion put across to everyone. And yeah, I like the stuff that Cardcast does. Good guy.
Good dude. Legend. He's the future. All right. Leroy says, I think the third quarter of the Denver game, you can see Jimmy G saying, your calls stink towards Shanahan walking towards the sideline. Wow, go back and check it out. Yeah, there was someone probably from their home, posted a picture. I mean, not a picture, a recording, and Jimmy was frustrated. He rarely shows his emotions, and a lot of people were saying he did say something sucks. No one knows what we were saying. The offense, Kyle, but he said something out there sucked, and if he was directing his anger towards the play calling or Kyle or the offense, you saw Jimmy's face, and he was not comfortable. And I saw that, and I will say this: I am not a lip reader, but the best thing I could say was he was angry, and he said something or someone sucks. Something he was saying something like that. Hopefully, YouTube doesn't get mad for using that word because this is YouTube. All right, so the Rams fan says Draymond Green in the background. All right,
Jersey, yep, Draymond. That's the dude.
all right. What's up? The Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, he's in the building. Albuquerque Turkey says jittery Jimmy. All right, film junkie, I can relate. All right, cool. Let's move on. Albuquerque Turkey says, John, you're a film guru. I'm not a film guru. I just like watching plays. I used to be a coach, so I had to learn how to read film and study all that stuff. But maybe that's for another show. YTC says my buddy hooked me with that free all 22 film, so I'm able. Yep, I think there's a YouTube channel called All 22. They don't have all the stuff, but they have a lot of great content. Yeah. Back on topic. Yeah, your Niners interior was the only problem. Yeah. True. All right, everyone is saying what's up. My boy Bryant is in the building. What's up,
Good to
Bryant?
see
Thanks for
you,
tuning
Brian.
in. All right, everyone is saying hello in the chat. Yep. YTC. All right, let me read this comment. Niners should have addressed the interior line. Yeah, I know that comment. I'm not going to read it yet. I don't want to piss myself off. I said for months we have to address that line. And look how the line is playing. Look how the line is playing. Insights. All right, here we go. We caught up to all the comments. It's hard process. It seems Kyle just isn't connected to his own players, and that could be true. I feel the Niners should move on from him. Yeah. We'll see what the 49ers do. But again, like it's still early in the year. By weeks 18, as the season goes on, if the line does not improve, if Jimmy is a flawed starter, because a lot of people say he's a backup. He is a flawed starter. Like he can start in the league, he's proven it, but he's flawed. And I don't know if it's the system for whatever the reason, but I just don't get why. Yeah, I don't understand why Kyle does the things that he does, and I will never understand that. All right. Okay, so let's talk about these injuries and these are the latest serious casualties. We could go back to week one. We lost Elijah Mitchell. Week two, the major casualty was our franchise quarterback Trey Lance, and this week it's Trent Williams and Aziz Al-Shaair or Aziz Al-Shar. Don't know how to pronounce that name, but I do the best I can. But when you look at the 49ers, why are we getting so many injuries early in the year? And I wanted to get your thoughts on these injuries. And are you worried that against the Rams, something, more injuries can happen? So I just want to know why these injuries happen. I want to get Shifty's thoughts about the injuries that just happen.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if it's just bad luck or whatever it is, but seems like every year we get hit pretty badly with injuries. And then these two guys, definitely a bummer to lose both of them. But the good news is it's not for the whole season. I think both of them are going to be back this year. My guess is Trent Williams will probably be back after the bye week. So for the second half of the season, at least we'll have him back. But obviously, it's a huge loss. Trent Williams, especially, he's the best left tackle in football. To go from him to Colton McKivitz, and no disrespect to Colton McKivitz, because I actually think he's a decent player, but it's a huge drop off for sure. So, unfortunately, what I think this means is that we're probably going to have to see whether it's Kittle or Juszczyk or Charlie Werner in there to help out with blocking, just to help make up for the loss of Trent Williams. Now, also, I'm a big fan of Azeez Al-Shaair. I thought he was fantastic last year. Really, really strong season. One of the things, though, that our strength is we still have Fred Warner, we still have Dre Greenlaw, and honestly, I'm a big fan of the other guys too, Demetrius Flanagan-Foles and Oren Burks. So, although it's a loss to lose Al-Shaair, I think we'll be fine at linebacker. So it's not as huge a loss. But of course, I wish he would be able to be out there because we know he can play pretty darn well. So both of these guys, absolutely a loss. Trent Williams is really going to hurt us. So, but if we remember last year, week 18 at the Rams, we didn't have Trent Williams there. So, and we were able to come away with the win. So, yeah, we're going to have to maybe adjust a little bit, maybe again, have that extra blocker in there to help out from time to time, depending on who we're playing. Yeah, it's a bummer. That's all you can say. You always want to have your best players out there, not only because it obviously helps the team win, but Trent Williams is probably the most fun offensive lineman to watch. I saw a clip in the game against the Broncos where in one play he put two Bronco defenders on the ground. It was like Bradley Chubb, who's a very good pass rusher, and someone else. He just basically threw one guy to the ground and then threw another guy to the ground, and you're like, holy moly, this guy's outrageous. He's so good. Yeah, it's a loss for sure. But look, every team, maybe they're not seeing the injuries that we are, but every team, guys are getting, missing time and everything. So at the end of the day, there's still a game to play, still got to move on. And here's the thing too, and I know I think there's a lot of doom and gloom around the 49ers just because Trey Lance gets hurt. We lose that game in Denver somehow. But if we win on Monday night, we're top of the division, So let's, regardless of whatever happens on other games, because of our division record and down the road, that could be a huge deal. So if we get a win Monday night, and then after that, we play the Panthers and the Falcons. So those are two pretty winnable games. Now, I know I see in the comments and I see it on social media and stuff where it's like, got to fire Kyle Shanahan. We were saying the same thing last year after the Colts game where we got beat. We were saying it after the Cardinals game where Colt McCoy came in and beat us. And what happened last year? We almost made the freaking Super Bowl. So, I'm not a fan of the whole get rid of Shanahan. I think that would be a really bad move. I'm a big fan, and call me biased, call me a homer or whatever. But I think that would be a really bad move.
So my boy Bryant says 49ers 30, LA 20. There is something about number 2. Shout out to Brian. All right. YTC talks about the turf. I'm not a big fan of turf. Yeah, all 32 teams. I think the league should just ban turf, because it's stupid. But anyway, that's just my thoughts about that. All right. Cool. Crazy Juice says, that's why I said we should have got JC Trotter. Yeah. All right.
He retired, so I don't think he was going to go anywhere.
Yeah. There was also some stuff that he was like some personal issues, legal issues. That's why nobody wanted to pick him up. And when it comes to the 49ers, they don't ever pick up players with legal stuff. All right, let's get these comments out the way. All right. YTC said, but from a general point for why injuries happen to more teams, other is just poor conditioning, comes down to bad coaching, management, yada, yada. Yeah, at the end of the day, like I've said this, and a lot of people said, don't play your starters in preseason. Well, guess what? Players are getting hurt because they're not in football shape yet. They have to be in football shape to get ready. And I'm not saying the players to play like like now that it's 12 quarters. It used to be 16 preseason quarters. As long as they're playing on the field and they're able to get some snaps on, then we wouldn't see these. But again, at the end of the day, to some people, uh, don't play your starters. All right. YTC's Panthers Falcons are winnable, but they can't be taken lightly. And I've
Agreed.
always, yeah,
100% agreed.
yeah, I've always been the guy that's like, I never take no team lightly because they can beat you. Look, we said it with the Bears. We were supposed to beat the Bears. We were supposed to destroy the Bears. We were supposed to, the Bears. And the Bears beat us when it mattered. Bears beat us when it mattered. We got Luigi in the building. Luigi is in the building. What's your opinion on McGlinchey going against the Rams D-line? He better do better in the pass game, but he does really well on the run game. That's my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's really got to have a big game. I think the Rams defense, they're going to throw a lot of different things. Luckily, they don't have Von Miller anymore, so that's a little bit of a. Last year, he was, a menace against us. But look, they still have Aaron Donald, who I think it'd be fairly reasonable to say is arguably the best player in the NFL. So we have to be ready for him. And I know Donald usually lines up on the inside, but what Donald does affects the entire defensive line, thus affects the entire offensive line. So, yeah, of course, I want McGlinchey. I want everyone to play pretty well. I want them to play really well. Just got to get, it's just on first down. I feel like the Niners so often, a lot of these drives, like first down, we run, it's like maybe a yard. A couple of times, I mean, I've seen a lot of runs that we lose yards. It's like then it's 2nd and 12, and then you're like, oh, damn, we got to go 12 yards in 2 plays. So if we can kind of get ahead of the sticks, and then hopefully if we can get into good situations, it means that McGlinchey and McKibbitz and all these guys don't have to block as long if we can get these quick passes. But yeah, there's a lot of things I think the Niners need to do differently against the Rams that they've been doing. I think Kittle has to start, they have to start getting the ball in his hands some way,
Yeah. And let me go back first with the injuries. And again, the 49ers have now lost. And again, Trey Lance is the only one who's out for the entire year. Mitchell is going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. Trent Williams is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, depending how well the high ankle sprain heals up. Aziz is going to be out for quite some time. Ty Davis Price, another running back, out probably for another week or two before he comes back. And again, there's a lot of smaller players. Tyler Kroft, he's also out. So it's just kind of funny. Oh yeah, and also Ross Dwelly, he got hurt. And these injuries, is again another product of Kyle, because the defense, our defense gets injured, but the majority of the players who get hurt are on the offensive side of the ball. So Kyle, if he's in charge of the offense, if he has all the power on the offense, you're the one who's got to keep these offensive players conditioned to stay healthy. You got to make sure Jimmy Garoppolo plays at the level that you want him so he can perform your plays, but he's been performing not at the level he wanted. And even though people said they should have given him the playbook while he waited until he got traded so he can learn and, get some reps, yada, yada. They didn't want to do that. And we can make excuses for Kyle. Our offensive line is not good for Jimmy. But at the end of the day, this is year 6 now. And he has a losing record. How in 6 seasons you have a losing record? So it's kind of weird that I looked at other coaches today, other coaches who had 5 winning seasons and they were fired. I've seen coaches who had that were on the team for 10 seasons, and then they were successful. They got let go. So why does Kyle get a pass? And it comes down to the ownership of the 49ers. Until our owner realizes that if this is what you want a general manager and a coach that get along, but the product does not show on the field, it shows where the direction of this team is. I hear everyone on social media complaining and whining, oh, Jimmy's horrible, this is horrible, do this, do that. No, it's the owner. They chose this guy for 6 seasons. We've had success, but we've also been horrible. When we had success, we've been horrible. This Niners organization will be like this with the direction of Kyle. And it's just sad that this is the 49ers right now. Everyone knows we're good, but we're very limited because of the offense. So that's Kyle. He needs to be responsible for keeping his team healthy, ready, so they can go on a long 17-week schedule of football. And not just next man up mentality, next man up mentality. Because again, if we have to go with Brock Purdy, he's not going to be better than Jimmy Garoppolo. So nope. I'm stating facts. So Jimmy is the guy. You got to root for him no matter how much you despise him at this moment, because he does give the team a better chance to win. Or if you want Brock Purdy, and hopefully we have a Nick Mullins and we win some games, but Brock Purdy makes more mistakes, we're back at the drawing board. So it's difficult why the 49ers are how they are. All right, let's move on. And because there's another game, another primetime game, the 49ers versus the Rams preview. We're going to talk about it. So I got a few topics that I wanted to discuss, but I want to get Shifty's thoughts. What are some stuff that you want to talk about this game?
It's one of those things where it's a division game, prime time. I think the team, we'll talk more so the offense, was embarrassed last Sunday night. So I'd like to think that they will come out with the mentality that we are going to be guns blazing. We're going to be on fire. Despite losing, of course, in the NFC Championship game, we had beaten the Rams, 6 or 7 times in a row. So I'm quietly confident in this game. I'm very confident in the defense, but the offense, we'll see it. But I'd like to think that they will have a big bounce back game against the Rams. There's a lot of different factors going into it, but when it comes down to it, we have Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, another week for practice for Jimmy. So you'd like to think he'll be a little bit better. But if the defense, I think I like our defense. Lenore has actually been playing quite a bit in the slot. So he'll have a big task ahead of him on Monday night with Cooper Kupp. He'll be lined up on Cooper Kupp, as will Sammy Womack. But I think every week we're going to have a shot to win the game, no matter who we're playing. I really firmly believe that, because the defense is so good that the offense has to make plays, and there were plays to be made against Denver. We just didn't make them. So you'd like to think that we'll get better with that again as the season goes on. If you think back to last year, the offense at the start of the year was very different from the offense at the end of the year. Of course, we started getting Debo more involved in the running game, things like that. So I do think as the season goes along, the offense will evolve with that. But I think there's a lot of pride at stake here. You have back-to-back primetime games, and we really do need to have better showing, because I'm sure no one likes to be embarrassed like the 49ers were on offense last Sunday night. So pride is at stake. The division, it's a big division game. And, this could really, I think maybe it's a big turning point in the season, because you don't want to go to 1-3. That's not good. No matter what way you slice it up, that's not good. So, but if we can get to 2-2, then some winnable games coming up, then suddenly, people are going to have think a lot differently about the 49ers. So I'm just really curious to see how the offense looks. I want to see George Kittle involved. I think it's insane that he, I know it was his first game of the year, but just the last number of games that he's played, and going back to last year too. The last dominant George Kittle game, I think, was at Cincinnati last year, but we need to get him involved. He's arguably the best tight end in the game. We just can't get the ball to him, which to me is inexcusable. I think Kyle needs to step up and prove, hey, this is why I'm the best play caller in the NFL, or why people say that about me. And Jimmy's got to execute. We're in the middle of the season now. We're week 4. You can't keep coming up with excuses. So, I think the whole team needs to step up.
All right, we got Tony says 12 likes. YTC says 13 now. And then we got We got Glenn. What's up, Glenn? Thanks for tuning in, man. Long time no see, man. Hopefully
Here we
you're all right.
go.
He says 14 now. And he also says John J and Shifty. Thanks for tuning in. So those must be the likes on my videos. Appreciate all the likes. Yeah, so the the big storyline that we all know is that the 49ers, for whatever the reason, we play well against the Rams. Now we are not, we have not swept them in like a 3 decades and a half, but we've always managed to have long win streaks, and they would win occasionally. The last time we were swept by the Rams was during the greatest show on turf, but most of the time we've always had one win, one win or one loss, one win and one loss with them. So that's always a good thing to understand that the Rams are they. It's been a long time. Again, it's been probably about 15, 16 seasons that they have swept us. So it shows you that we're always like 500. I gotta go with the numbers and see how the Niners have done, but the Niners have done really well against the Rams. So, with that said, we can always, go with that. And Kyle always does well against McVay. But McVay has owned Kyle when it matters, the NFC Championship game. So that's one thing that is like, if you go by history, and if history's been right all along, I said it. We swept the Rams last year, and if we had to play them a third time, I said we were going to lose. So in the NFC Championship game, when we had a 17-7 lead entering the fourth quarter, I said we have to win this game in this quarter. And they beat us. They beat us when it mattered. We made a lot of bad mistakes. A lot of people blame Jimmy, but there was a lot of bad mistakes. So at the end of the day, history has told us, and I'm going to go with history. I think the Niners can win this game because of what history says. Will we win the game? I do not know, because of the next thing I want to talk about is, can the 49ers O-line deal with the Rams defensive line? So I want to get your thoughts first, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts after.
Yeah, it's gonna be that's a big question. Of course, headlined by Aaron Donald. Niners really, I mean, the O line has to have a damn good game. Touched on it a little bit earlier, but we really have to run the ball effectively, whatever way possible. I don't if even if that means let's maybe give the ball to George Kittle or something like that. But I think we have to, if we run the ball effectively, get some positive yards on first down, then that really does help to neutralize what the Rams defensive line can do. We just came against a really good Denver defensive line. So, DJ Jones, Randy Gregory, Bradley Chubb, and the like. But, so I think it's a big question. I do like the 49ers. I think the interior, I mean, Brendel's had some miscues, but I think overall, Banks and Burford have been really solid. With McGlinchey, I think he's been okay. McKivitz is obviously the big question mark here. I think he's going to be targeted a lot with like a bunch of different like stunts, a bunch of different looks with blitz packages and whatnot. So he'll really have to be on his A game in order for us to give Jimmy some time back there to open up some running lanes. But it's going to be that's going to be a battle all game long. And it always is. But I do think that the 49ers, they have to do some things to really give Jimmy some time back there, whether it's play action bootlegs, whether it's misdirection plays and whatnot. Keep the Rams defensive line guessing as to where we're going to go with the ball. So yeah, I don't want to say I'm confident in, I think the Rams defensive line, they're going to make plays for sure. They always will, but can we make the plays when they matter? We were so bad on third down against the Broncos. And so we really have to, when the play is there to be made, we have to make it, and that's, we can't let opportunities go like we did against Denver.
Yep. And I look at the offensive line like this, like last year we lost to the Cardinals. It was basically the season's over. The season's over. And we had some winnable games after the Rams game. The Jaguars. We saw how that went for the Jaguars, but Kyle, I think, has something up his sleeve. Like last year, Debo Samuel started running the football, and then it was like, wow, like look at all this. And Debo had a really good game. I got a feeling, and again, I don't really do predictions, but I got a feeling Jawan Jennings or Brandon Ayuk they're gonna do something that we've never seen them do before, which is gonna allow Debo to be more of a pass catcher. There's a possibility Kyle Juszczyk could be used in way more plays than he usually is. And again, he's a fullback, so I'm not going to expect him to have like 5 catches for like 100 yards and some touchdowns. No, I feel he's going to be a lot of misdirections to do a lot of things. So that's what I see to confuse the Rams. But back to the offensive line. So I got a feeling that they will probably start. I want to say Jalen Moore. I could be wrong, but I think they're going to put Jalen Moore there. And
I hope not.
and again, and I'm not confident with Colton McKivitz, but one of them is going to start. But if I had to take a guess, or like if I was a betting man, I think they'll use Jalen Moore to start the game, and then they'll still probably back and forth. But one of them are going to start. The problem that I see is that because Jimmy, has been playing terrible, they're going to try to minimize Jimmy throwing the football. And I think what's going to happen is that there's going to be a lot of quick screens, a lot of stuff behind the backfield to basically mix up what's going on. But as the game goes on, then the offensive line will start to be tested. But I think the Niners are going to basically to not give the Rams a rhythm. They're going to try to do a lot of screen passes, backward passes, a lot of draw plays, and a lot of like passes from the backfield. So we're probably going to see a lot of Kyle Juszczyk, probably going to see a lot of, Brandon Ayuk in a lot of different types of situations like that. Because at the end of the day, for whatever the reason, I am not confident on this line, and I worry about this. That's why I think, and again, that's why when I do predictions, I never predict my team because it's a conflict of interest. But the Rams have the better team right now, and they could beat us. And I'm just being realistic. I want the Niners to win. I don't want people to say that I say we're going to lose to the Rams. I'm just saying that the Rams, in their last game, they played the Cardinals and they won. We played horrible. The offense played horrible. We lost by 1 point on the road. So hopefully the Niners do trick us and they just start off strong and we beat them. That's just my thoughts on a defensive line. Yeah. All right, let's go to the
you're right.
Yeah. Yep. I hope. All right, so we have a baseball fan, a Braves fan in the building. What is up? What is up? And we got Niners all damn day in the building. He says, no, I'm going to assume he says that we should not worry about the offensive line. Shout out to Niners. Oh, damn day. All right, Niners all damn day says we need some Debo decoy plays. That's
Agree.
a possibility. Brian says at Niners all damn day, we definitely need decoy for Debo. Juice and Kittle will step up. All right. Yep.
Yeah, that's something that like really quickly that I want to say is that I think that we need, because even though the Debo running, I mean, he had a great run against Seattle, but beyond that, it hasn't been effective or nearly as effective as last year. But the defense still puts so much attention to that. So I'd love to see it where, maybe we do hand it off to Debo and then like Ayuk comes and Debo gives it to Ayuk on like an end around or something. But, I'd love to see us use Debo as a decoy a few times a game because the defense just puts so much attention on him that I think there's definitely opportunities there.
All right. So the 49ers play the Rams. So, a lot of people have been criticizing these two, our coach Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo. But who has more to gain and more to prove for Sunday's game against the Rams? Does Kyle have more to prove or does Jimmy have more to prove? One of these players, all right, so one is a player, one is a coach. one of these 49ers in Shifty's eyes, who has more to prove?
Well, they definitely both have things to prove, but who has more to prove? I'm going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo simply because, I think once we, after the game and once we kind of broke down, like, looked at the film and everything, then you could see that there were plays to be made, and Jimmy didn't make them. And then, of course, as much as, and I wasn't a fan of the play call at the goal line where it led to the safety, but not only did Jimmy, he did a miraculous, he went out of bounds, but he also threw it what would have been a pick six. So it was weird to actually be happy that it was a safety, but I think, he's the one on the field. I think he has to prove that when the plays are there, he has to, start making them. That's not to say that, Kyle still has things to prove as well. I think there were definitely some questionable decisions made by Kyle, some play calls that I wasn't a fan of, but I think that Jimmy has more to prove. They both have to prove, that they're can, get the offense scoring points. But I think Jimmy has a little bit more to prove just because there was about 2 or 3 plays that if Jimmy had made them, then, the score line could have been very different. And you can kind of say that in every game, but I think that if Jimmy can start making those plays at a higher rate with this defense behind him, then we should be winning a lot more games. So I would say that Jimmy has a little bit more to prove, but they both have to start showing, that Jimmy has to show that Jimmy's like the last year of a deal. So, if he wants to get paid somewhere else, he has to show that he can play well. Otherwise, he ain't going to make much money next year. Kyle Shanahan, although I don't think he's on the hot seat, but this is like, as you said, this is what, year 6 now. And although we've had success in, 2 of the last 3 seasons, we still you have to, maintain that. It's not good to be just good for 1 year and then you drop off. Like every year, if he wants to be seen as one of the better coaches, we have to be producing year in and year out, and that's producing wins. And so, yeah, it's a big test. It's a big test because both, the Rams and 49ers, we know each other very well. A lot of the players, there's a lot of, back and forth, a lot of history between the franchises, between these players. So, as much as it is, I'm really excited for Monday night. It's going to be a good game, just old-fashioned NFC West, I love it.
Brian says Debo needs to get the ball in the backfield and throw a touchdown to Danny Gray. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun?
We saw it last year to Juwan.
Mm-hmm. And Niners all damn day put a very interesting and factual take. Every time Debo lines up in the backfield, they know it's a run. And hopefully Kyle is just like this guru because maybe he can, instead of maybe they can fake a Debo possible run and they can do something different. Remember, like Kyle, this game, I do think he has a lot to prove because, he's losing a lot of credibility with the fans. And again, Kyle and John, like they say, they don't care what people say about them on social media because they're going to do what they think is right for the team. If we don't like it, it is what it is, but they really don't care. So hopefully, he proves something to us. What's up, Sergeant Bubbly? Thanks for tuning in. Brian says Juice can play quarterback. Yeah. Yep. And 16 likes. All right, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for the likes. Anyway, so this is how I look at it in this game. I think Jimmy Garoppolo has a lot to prove. And the reason why I say Jimmy Garoppolo has a lot to prove is that was your first game as a starter in the 2022 season. Because again, he said this was his first time playing with this team. So, that was just idiotic. Is that the low point for you? Is that the low point? Is that the low that right there? In NFL history, you're going to be looked at as that idiot who stepped out of bounds and threw an interception. He's going to be known for that for the rest of his life. But if he can take the 49ers brain, because we're like goldfish. Goldfish, every 7 seconds, they forget where they were in their little water area. But the point is that if he can showcase who he is, show that he can be a good leader and make little mistakes and just put the ball at the right places, let the playmakers, a little bit of his past of last week will go away, but he's still going to be criticized. So he has a lot to prove. He has a lot to prove because, again, he he was out the door. He had to come back, and now he has to take over the reins with this team. And I know Jimmy's not complaining. I know he's happy to be playing with his friends. You know, his friends are also playing with Jimmy. That is the case. So he has a lot to prove. But I think the person who has the most to prove out of both these guys is Kyle Shanahan. Because we're going to see adversity. You don't have Trent Williams. Who is going to be the guy there? Okay. How are you going to work with your run game? What are you going to do now? Because Debo last game, 5 carries for 6 rushing yards. Can you draw something, write something new, create something that would make the teams of the next couple of years, oh, wow, now we got to defend that and, figure out that? Kyle has a lot to prove with a bad offensive line, a manageable system, who was below average quarterback, and your best offensive weapon is going to be basically, taken away. So what are you going to be doing? What do you have to do? He has the most to prove. So that is my thoughts about that. All right. Now we're going to come down to the most important topic is keys to victories. What do the 49ers have to do to win this game? So Shifty, I'll let you go first.
Cool. Yeah, there's a number of things the Niners have to do. Something that we didn't do in Denver was, well, we obviously need to score points, but I think it's winning the turnover battle. We did not do that against Denver. As great as a defense is, and I'm not knocking them necessarily for this, is that we didn't have any turnovers. Now we did force 2 fumbles. Luckily for Denver's sake, they got the ball back. But I think if we force some turnovers, Stafford, we know he can be sometimes a little reckless with the ball. We have a great defensive line. We should be able to pressure him. But I think we're going to still need to rely on the defense is going to really have to win us the game. So that means turnovers, putting us in good position where we can easily put up points. Also penalties and flags. We can't be having those, especially on offense, because we're clearly having difficulties moving the ball enough as it is. But when you get those false starts, when it goes from, let's say it's 3rd and 3, then to 3rd and 8, or a couple of times against Denver, we had some holding penalties, which the holding penalties are just brutal, especially for an offense that's struggling to find an identity to move the ball consistently. So we really have to play disciplined football, stay ahead of the sticks, really just consistently get some positive yards on first down as well to set us up for 2nd and 3rd down. But I think, really just forcing the turnovers, limiting penalties. I'd like to see the run game get some kind of consistency with it. I think the running game has been really inconsistent all season long. Like we'll break, and Jeff Wilson did it against Denver. He broke a really nice run. I think he was maybe like 25, 30 yards. But then after that, it was like a yard, lose 2 yards. So if we can consistently move the football, running the ball, that's just going to set us up really well, because the offense has to score points. Now, if we can get those, maybe a special teams play, maybe that comes into a factor. If we can get a nice return or a block or something to that effect, that's really going to help out too. But I think we kind of have to go into this game assuming, look, the offense isn't going to be great. So if the defense can set us up well, the special teams, same thing. And the offense, we can't hurt ourselves. So we can't turn the ball over. No stupid penalties. And yeah, I think we can. Of course, I think we can win any game this season just because of how good the defense is. But we really need to play well to beat this Rams team because they're good.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to my boy, David Villa, because that's a difficult name to pronounce. Thanks for tuning in. He says, sup to Shifty.
What's up, David?
Always good to have all these great fans pop in, and I love the comments. I love the comments. But this is my keys to victory, and everything that's changed when it comes to keys to victories. Last year, I think like 10 times during last year, it was almost a similar thing. And one thing that we all know is that we have to pressure Matthew Stafford. We have to make him uncomfortable because he's going to make mistakes. Last year, he threw, I think, 3 or 4 interceptions against the 49ers in the regular season. So if we give him a hard time, make him force throws he doesn't need to, we could get turnovers. So that's going to be the main thing because the defense has to take the tone because our offense is the problem. So if we make Matthew Stafford make bad mistakes, make turnovers, that's bad for them because then we get the ball, our defense gets off the field, and is get as much rest as possible. One player who has to step up is Emmanuel Mosley. I think Emmanuel Mosley, there was a stat that came out. While he's only allowed 9 catches and 13 targets, he has a passer rating versus the quarterbacks of 131.9. So Emmanuel Mosley has to step up because he is letting the receivers catch the football. And again, he's only had them 9 targets, but with those 9 targets, Emmanuel Mosley has not been able to contest throws. But basically, he's averaging 3 targets that are caught in his direction because he's not playing aggressive. So we need him to step up. That's going to be another thing on the defensive side of the ball. Another person on the defensive side that I want to see is I hope Eric Armstead comes back. And if he does come back, I hope he comes back. He's going to be a very important factor to take away the run game, which will force Matthew Stafford to throw the football a lot. So basically, a lot of our individual players have to step up on the defense. And of course, Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw will have to step up in the linebacker without Aziz. So we're going to have Flanagan Full stepping in for him, interchanging them with Oren Burke. So our linebackers are going to be challenged with all the moving parts because they're going to be doing a lot of shifting on the linebackers because we don't have our 3 main guys. And of course, when it comes to the offense, very simple. The offensive line has to protect Jimmy so Jimmy can have enough time, set up, survey, and throw the football to his targets. If the offensive line does not do that, expect a long day for the 49ers. So that's my thoughts, my opinions about how the 49ers win the football game against the Rams. All right, let's go back to the comments. David says, being an old school 49er fan, our offense is offensive. That's a good one. Brian says, Shifty, facts, defense is good to bet any time. Question, has the defense been better without Armstead? I think so. What do you think about this comment?
I mean, maybe in spots, sure, but I really do think Armstead's a very good player. I think overall Armstead's pretty good against the run, and he's a really good pass rusher from inside. He has like some really good moves. So it's one of those things where, I mean, I would disagree respectfully with Bryant. I think the defense is better when Armstead is out there, and I really do hope he's ready to go against the Rams because I remember Armstead was definitely causing them problems last year. So, I think we really do need him out there because, as you mentioned Stafford doesn't move nearly as well as a lot of these other quarterbacks. So we get pressure on him. He can be reckless with the ball too. So force those turnovers.
Yeah. And then Brian says, do you think Armstead is a run liability? And I had that comment up already, but I don't think he's a liability. I think Eric Armstead is basically like a mid-level interior offensive line. He's not ever going to be Aaron Darnold, and you do need him on the offense, like with his experience, the way he plays. It's never going to be perfect with Armstead, but Armstead does bring in a great quality starter right next to Javon Kinlaw. So when Javon Kinlaw and Armstead are together, the middle of the line is much better than if you have like Ridgeway, Givens, and anybody else. That's my thoughts about that. All right. So with that said, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. Shifty, you know the drill. You don't need this anymore. Thank our guests, everyone. Thank them for hopping in our show. All right, hold on. Hold on. My bad. All right. My tickers are not working the way they want them to. All right. All right. Let's try this again. So, Shifty, you know the drill. I don't have to say it no more. We always do this. Let the fans know who you are one more time.
Cool. I'm diehard 49er fan, born in San Francisco. I live in San Francisco. So it's always good to do a podcast with 49ers Ultimate Report, John Jay. This is our Candlestick Point Report. Two guys who live in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's always a good time. For me, put out 49ers content. It's definitely been lacking in this so far this week. I've been working every single day for the past 6 days. So it's my first day off in a little while. But I'm aiming for today, ideally later tonight, to put out my preview for the Rams game. Also on Twitter, it's Shifty's 49ers Talk. On Instagram is Shifty 49ers Talk as well. So check me out there, follow me there. If you like what I do, and if you haven't already, do feel free to drop a subscription on the channel. It does help out a lot. Yeah, I appreciate everyone for being here in the stream, for leaving a ton of comments. Yeah, definitely, it's great to see like the show when it's a lot of fun too, when it's like really engaging with the people who drop comments and check out the streams with the viewers. So yeah, always a good time.
Yep. It's always a good time. Always a good time uh, to talk 49ers football. But with that said, everybody, I'm John Jay. This is the Candlestick Point Report right here. The guy who's pointing next to me, that is Shifty, but he's pointing at me because he wants to know that I am John Jay. But with that said, everybody, I'm John Jay. This is the 49ers Ultimate Report. You got to have a good rest of your day. And of course,